But what that reminded me of, why I say that, is there's a passage in Struggle Well that talks about this. That talks about I am versus I feel. And, you talked about like, hey, when I tell this story, I was mad, I was upset, I was depressed, I was happy, I was excited. And they talk about if you can separate yourself from the feeling, that's kind of like goes back to some of the other conversations we've had of system 1, system 2 thinking, react versus respond, those kinds of things. I mean, even when it's a good feeling, it can also still be a good thing to be like, mindful and appreciative of what's happening. But when it's a bad thing, it's even better, I think, because it can separate you from that negative experience. So instead of I am depressed, well, I feel depressed. Okay, well, now that it's not me, it's something in front of me, I can like look at it and analyze it and say, what can I do about this? Instead of it is me, I identify as depressed. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's a really huge distinction, because when you feel a certain way, that's something that you can modify. You can take some ownership of it and adjust that. But if you make that your I am, that's more definitive and probably harder to overcome. And I think our society has embraced this identity of victimhood. And our society tends to, or at least what I see in my diminishing time on social media, I've completely deleted my Twitter account that I had, and other things, just because it's like people are trying to one up each other on, no, I'm a bigger victim, and that becomes their identity, when they should all know that I'm the biggest victim here. But yeah, no, I see that, Brad, that distinction, and how, while it's hard to change how you feel, it is a feeling and not a definitive thing.
Guy, appreciate it. Billy, welcome. Yeah, let me just welcome Billy for a second. Hey man, it's good to see you, buddy. You got anything to add? Maybe even not just to add, but is anything on your mind as far as your own identity or future identity in regards to a change in role or retirement, or anything that you have to add on identity? I'll throw that grenade to you. Let it roll around in your head for a bit. And Jerba, if it's all right, I'll throw the stick of control back to you. You good?
Yeah, I was chiming in on Brad's question. I think I would say rephrasing and reframing are really important for people from all places, because self-talk can be a positive or a negative, and it really matters the words that you use to describe yourself or your feelings, and they need to be distinct, because if you keep saying I am depressed, it sort of reinforces the depression. It's really, it can be, if you practice it enough, it can be that small distinction of saying I feel depressed could make a difference, could give you just enough of a break in between the thought and the action to say, okay, wait a minute, this isn't me, this is a feeling I'm having, this is a thought I'm having. And a lot of times we listen to our thoughts over and over again, and they interrupt we'll just be sitting watching a game or something, and boom, something that happened back when you were 10 years ago, bad relationship, something snarky you said to somebody that you really care about, and you wonder how they're doing now, and you feel guilty. Like, see, I'm so used to doing it, I say I feel guilty. That can ruin your whole day. That can detract you from any positive thing that you could have going on that day. So when these thoughts come into your mind as like a third person observation, just tell them to shut up, just ignore it. If you're not down with having that knocking around in your head for the next couple hours, who cares? Who cares what your brain just told you about an old feeling you had? That's intrusive. And you should treat that as some shitty commenter on Facebook or Twitter that just tried to ruin your day. Just delete him, block him. You do the same thing in real life. Do it to yourself. Like, these intrusive thoughts. So try not to go down the road of, and catch yourself doing it, practice it. Like, no, that's not I am, that's I feel. Or I'm noticing. It's even better. I'm noticing I'm feeling anxious. I got a big thing coming up in work. I got to speak in front of a bunch of people I haven't met. They're expecting something from me. I spend a lot of time on my own, so I'm not really out in front of the people like I used to be. So I'm a little rusty, I'm a little nervous. That can just ruin my entire day. Anxiety will build. My third voice is coming in saying, you're going to screw this up. They're going to think you're ridiculous. You're going to tell some lame joke or whatever, But if when that comes, I say, I'm noticing, I'm rehearsing failure in my mind again. That's just enough of a break to where I can walk away from it and say, well, that's ridiculous. I'm going to be prepared for this. I'm going to look sharp. I'm going to nail it, and just move on. Right. So, yeah, that's what I think. I think that's very powerful, having that distinction of choosing your own words carefully with others, but also to yourself. You can do more damage to yourself than you realize sometimes.
Thanks, Gerbo. And I think it's important that we participate in these type of virtual conversations. Doesn't matter if it's recorded or unrecorded, because it helps, at least for me personally, it helps me break the cycle of that negative self-talk sometimes and that rumination, which I used to struggle with a hell of a lot more previously than I do now. So I will say that, having venues like this, virtual venues, virtual rooms, if you will, really allows me personally to break that cycle and to kind of realize that, to put it quite distinctly, like Dusty told me once, I am where my feet are. You are where your feet are. And sometimes for me, it doesn't feel like I am where my feet are. Sometimes my body, everything in me feels like I'm doing it again. I came within half a second from blowing up an old lady. Previously about grounding techniques, and that's how I look at identity and those grounding techniques, and that's why I bring it up, is because a lot of us here, like me, spent over half of their entire physical life on this planet being an EOD technician in the United States Air Force. So it makes sense that to some degree, some more than others, it is a huge part of their identity, dare I say, foundation of their self. Maybe, and I agree, Gerbo, with what you said, before we were something before that. And that's something that I keep bringing up in my head, is that, yes, okay, we were something before that. So, okay, what was our identity before that? What was it? And then military ID, and then afterwards, is it possible to incorporate the benefits and the things that we've learned from all these hats, all these different identities and phases in life, into a more positive way forward? And if so, how does that look?
Yeah, that's perfect. That kind of ties in what I was saying before about, not only were we other lives, but in high school, I don't go around saying, former high school student, I can say that I was a class clown, that I was not as into drama as Bill Eaton, but I did set design and stuff. So I was artistic, I was creative. So think about those things about me that I know about me. Maybe you guys do too. I'm creative.
I did that in the
I'm
military.
artistic. So now what's defining me? Those attributes about my personality? Not the facility I was in when I was doing those things. And the same goes for the military. Since I've left it, 9 years ago, I'm still kind of a combination of all those things and personalities and behaviors and beliefs and stuff like that. And they've changed. They've changed. I've changed my worldview a number of times because I've been in different countries that I used to read about. And now I've actually feel like, not that I'm an expert, like an ambassador of a country, but having eaten the local food and talked to the locals and experienced kind of their stories, where before it was only my version that was given to me in books and movies and shows and stuff like that, I was able to adjust my beliefs, my values even, and worldview to arrive at a place I'm at right now. And I'm thankful for all of those developmental experiences and those memories and stuff that shaped me, and the friendships and the mentors and the people that still are in my life. That uniform's not part of me anymore. So that's not part of my identity. But the history and the person going through that 3 decades is who you got right here. So that's my identity. The soft nugget inside the chocolate shell. I don't know.